Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, March 2nd, the 18th day of Adar. It's been a little while since we have met during the week in this format, so it's good to be back. It's hard to believe that we're coming up on almost a one-year anniversary of when all the craziness began, when we shut down the shul. I believe it was March 14th of last year, a rather ominous anniversary, so to say, but we've come a very, very long way, and I'm so pleased to see that things are slowly but surely getting back to normal. More and more people are feeling comfortable to come back to shul. Services have been running quite regularly, programming. We had a fantastic Purim, and I thank everybody for your participation. Also, the notice was sent out to please sign up and register. We have a bar mitzvah coming up for Ashton Weiss and Parshas Vayikra, and we want to make sure again that we follow all the guidelines, and we're going to have assigned seating, so please make sure that you let us know that you're coming so that we can plan accordingly. Our video today, our Devar Torah, is sponsored by Gail and Jeff Toll. Jeff's mom passed away 30 days ago, and today is the Shloshim for Nelly Toll. And I didn't know her, but when I learned about her, I mean, what a remarkable woman. Someone who's really, really incredible. And before I get into some of the details of your life, I want to use our Parsha as a launching point, so to say, to really give you a brief, very brief insight. I cannot do it justice. I did watch the service, but really, really an outstanding human being who inspired others and used her experiences to make this world a better place. So in the end of our Parsha, Kisisa is known mostly for the story of the Egel Azav. The Jewish people, they became impatient, if you can imagine that, and Moshe Rabbeinu is up on the mountain, and he's getting the tablets, and they miscalculate, they mistime it, whatever it might be, but somehow they convince Aaron HaKohen to make an Egel Hazav, a golden calf. He does so. Moshe Rabbeinu comes down from the mountain. Yehoshua is waiting for him, kind of midway. And he goes and he says, I hear all this noise. It must be exciting for you to come. And Moshe's like, yeah, I don't think that's what's happening. And of course he comes down and he sees the Egel Azav, the golden calf. He smashes the tablets. And the rest we know what happens. But at the end of the Parsha, when the Torah describes Moshe's stay on the mountain, 40 days and 40 nights. Lechem lo chal, mayim lo shasa. And he writes down all the God's words, the Tzeres HaDvarim, on the tablets. And then, Vayhi beredes Moshe mehar Sinai, u'shnei luchos ha'idus biyad Moshe, biridito minahar, u'Moshe lo yada ki karan or panav bedabro ito. So when Moshe came down from Mount Sinai, he has the two tablets, he has the luchos in his hands. But he didn't know, and the word that the Torah uses is ki karan or panav. I'll read you the Art Scroll translation. He didn't know that the skin of his face had become radiant when God had spoken with him. And what happened is that everybody sees that, Moshe's face is radiant, ki karan, vahine karan or panav, and everybody was scared of him. So then Moshe, of all things, has to go and he has to put on, after he finishes speaking, he has to put on his face a masveh, a mask, something I guess we can all relate to. But this verse is a source of a great misunderstanding in history. The word Karan, which we know to mean that his face was glowing, he had the shine, and some say because he had a drop of the ink or whatever was used to write the luchos, to etch the luchos, touched Moshe, and that gave him this everlasting glow. It was so much that people couldn't even handle it. But the word Karan is like the word Keren, which means horn. Which then, of course, when people read this passage in the Bible, it says, Ki Karan Moshe, that Moshe had horns. And this gave rise, of course, to the famous statue of Michelangelo, that Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, had horns. And this, of course, leads to the stereotype that, Jews have horns. I actually was once driving on my way to Florida, and we stopped at I remember it was a Piggly Wiggly. We don't have those around here. We had a Piggly Wiggly, was like a 7-Eleven, a rest stop, something. And we stopped to get a drink or a bathroom. And we were wearing kippahs and everything. And somebody stopped us and said, never saw a Jew before. And said, what are y'all doing here? And I'm like, we're just passing through. And very nicely said, what are y'all, Mennonites? I said, I honestly didn't know what a Mennonite was. I said, no, we're Jewish. She's like, well, where are your horns? True story. Really thought that we had horns. But my point is that sometimes art can display true meaning or inner beauty into the outer world of what's really happening in a religious experience. Let me just share with you a brief biography of Nelly Toll, and then you'll understand why I'm discussing Ki Karan or Panav. For 13 months during World War II, Nelly Toll and her mother were hidden from the Nazis in a small bedroom of a Gentile couple in Lvov, in Poland. Just 8 years old when she went into hiding in 1943, Nelly began keeping the diary that would inspire this powerful and moving memoir of her childhood. This is from the inner flap of her book. In her small black journal, Nelly wrote about the heartbreaking events she experienced in Lvov and her grief over the tragic losses of family members, as well as the day-to-day fears of life in hiding. In contrast, the exuberant, vividly colored paintings that Nelly also produced while in hiding transformed her grim reality into an enchanting fantasy world filled with school friends, bright skies, and happy families. Nelly used art as an escape, as her coping mechanism, which later became a master teaching tool. 29 of these paintings are reproduced in Behind the Secret Window. Captions help readers to trace the fascinating process of their creation. Together, text and art tell the story of a lovable, imaginative child beset with terrifying uncertainties, and of the courageous mother who nurtured her daughter's unswerving belief in brighter days ahead. Now, that's what she did as a child, but as an adult, she came to America in 1951. She got a master's degree in art and art history from Rutgers, studied at the Academy of Fine Arts in Philadelphia, exhibited her work all over the place, a master's degree in counseling, and a degree in art therapy. And she uses all of her disciplines to counsel people, young people. Her 64 watercolor paintings from the 13 months she spent in hiding, which if you look at the video, there's a brief video, it's an introduction to the movie about her. She describes, and you see the paintings, it's beautiful, about how she was able to get even color paint. Just think about that, someone in hiding. Where do you even get the supplies? Where do you get paper? Where do you get markers? So her 64 watercolor paintings from the 13 months she spent in hiding in Poland during World War II have been shown around the world. 8 are in the permanent collection of the Yad Vashem Museum in Israel. Her works were written up in the New York Times, and I'll share with you one last tidbit when it's written that when recounting the story to her children, she denounced bullying and encouraged kindness. She acknowledged the loss of her family and the hardship she experienced, but she also claimed her role as the witness to atrocities of war. The gift she gave the world was her story and the lesson we take from it. If we open our ears and our hearts to her words and paintings, is that our actions can change the world. And her actions have changed the world. There's another photo at the bottom of the email from January 2016, when she had a reception with the German Chancellor Angela Merkel in honor of the exhibition about Holocaust art. It was a very significant moment in her life, but also a very historic world event. I always say this a lot, is that we're defined often not by what happens to us, but by what we do with what happens to us. And here is a woman with unbelievable strength as a child, and she was able to channel the most horrible existence into works of art, into things of beauty. And there's much we can learn from art. And it seems to me, and I wish I had gotten to know her, and you know, she was zocha to see children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, but it seems to me that her life was in and of itself a work of art, and someone that we can learn a tremendous amount from. And even though she is no longer here physically, but her works, her legacy will remain forever. And I think it behooves us, we should take an opportunity to look and see what someone, maybe when we're experiencing difficulty, and we can look at paintings that will inspire, paintings that will encourage, paintings that will help us cope maybe with some of the difficulties in life. And we should never know the difficulties that she experienced, but certainly her neshama should have an aliyah. And I promise you that her paintings will never be misunderstood, will never be misrepresented. That is her legacy. And again, today is the Shloshim, Necha Bella Bas Zigman. Her neshama should have an aliyah, Nelly Toll, and we should have simchas together, and again appreciate the beauty that the world has to offer, because there indeed is so much. Have a wonderful day.